Non-Canadians, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think Canada? The woods. Even though they're not talked about much, Canada's extensive boreal forests are super cool to me. It's disappointing how few people know that Canada has a rainforest, separate from the boreal forests. When most people think about the rainforest, they think about a tropical rainforest. Ours is really interesting because it's a temperate rainforest. Totally different vibe, unbelievably beautiful. Maple syrup and the Canadian flag. Honestly, that's what I just thought of. But also I think of trees, aeroplanes, and Saskatchewan. You have no idea how hard it is to insist to two toddlers that it's pronounced Z, when every single song, TV show, toy, etc. says Z. Definitely say that so casually I have to mentally think about not saying it. Apparently I do too. To the point Canadians have become excited, they think they found a fellow expat in the US. Nope, just a former Alaskan. Close enough, eh? First I picture the beautiful flag, the simplicity and the elegance which makes for a perfect flag. Then I picture the map, a huge country covered in unique and interesting nature. Then I picture the Mounties, dressed in their sophisticated red uniforms, gracefully riding their horses. Then I picture downtown Vancouver where I saw a hobo taking a piss in a hat. Stop, you're making me weep patriotic tears. The Red Green Show. I will always imagine that show portrays the ideal Canadian life. If the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. I'm a man, but I can change, if I have to, I guess. Maple syrup and mousse. Lay's once released that as a chip flavour. Maple mousse meat. Poutine! Ah, the old Canadian salad. Sure is something tasty to poutine your mouth. For anyone who is unaware, the French-Canadian pronunciation, close to poutine, makes this joke work so much better. Sorry, but Ryan Reynolds. And Ryan Gosling. Sigh. And Keanu Reeves. And Jim Carrey. I live about 45 minutes from Canada in Michigan. Hockey, poutine, and a 19-year-old drinking age for me. Rush. I went to the same high school as Neil Peart and the guys who created Trivial Pursuit. R.I.P. Neil Peart. Yes, January 7th, 2020. R.I.P. Neil Peart. He was one of the greatest percussionists known to man. How South Park portrays them. Blame Canada! With all their beady little eyes and flapping heads so full of lies. With their hockey hullabaloo and that Anne Murray too. I'm Australian. This is what I think of when I think Canada. Friendliness and politeness. The Canadian flag, maple trees, leaves, syrup, mountains, cold weather, poutine, speaking French, hockey. I always viewed Australia as like a cousin to Canada. Nah, you have to take Australia and New Zealand together and realise New Zealand is the Canada of that group, and Australia is the US. Same as Czech and Slovakia, or England and Scotland, Ireland. Ketchup potato burger. Okay, but they are delicious and my favourite flavour ever. Have you even had all dressed? Okay, honestly, they're like my third favourite. To me, probably heroism and loyalty. Canada played a very major role in liberating my country from German occupation in World War II, and every year during the 5th and 6th of May, we commemorate your bravery and sacrifice. So yeah, thank you, Canada. We love you too, Netherlands! Land of mini pancakes and the land of maple syrup. Such a wholesome friendship. Maple syrup. Real maple syrup. The fact that fake maple syrup exists is unfathomable to me. It comes from fake plastic trees. Phil Hartman, Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, Dan Aykroyd, Will Arnott, Tommy Chong, John Candy. So funny dudes. Yeah, I know, I'm old. In addition, Martin Short, Ryan Reynolds, Matthew Perry, Michael J. Fox, Seth Rogen, Leslie Nielsen, Eugene Levy, Dan Levy, Russell Peters, Norm Macdonald, Michael Cera, Howie Mandel, Lorna Michaels, Rick Moranis, Jerry D, Colin Mockery, Nathan Fielder, Ron James, Jason Jones, Rich Little, Rick Mercer, Will Sasso, Alan Thicke, and the kids in the hall and the Trailer Park Boys. So yeah, definitely funny dudes. A Wonderful Life Without Pennies. When it first happened, I had a guy flip out and make me refund an entire order because I couldn't give him 2 pennies. He started ranting about sending a letter to Harper that we couldn't rob him. When it first happened, I was in Zeller's and the cashier spent 3 minutes politely explaining that I was 2 cents short and she wouldn't listen to a word I'd say otherwise. I have a lot of friends in Canada, so I think of them. This is so wholesome. Lake Louise. Proposed to my wife there. Trailer Park Boys. No joke. Nova Scotia smokes more weed per capita than any other province, and it makes a lot of sense once you watch that show. We gotta deal with living here somehow. Robin going to the mall in Him. Let's go to the mall. The colour green for some reason, and the leaf thing. Also, murderous geese who will someday develop teeth and destroy mankind. Once a year we have a ceremony and transfer all our rage and hatred into Canadian geese. Right this moment, Letterkenny. How are you now? Good and you? Not so bad. I'm surprised no one has mentioned Alex Trebek. He's a national treasure. Bob and Doug McKenzie. The fact that my ancestors were ejected from Canada by the British. I wish people who could prove Arcadian ancestry, Cajuns, could get a track to citizenship there. I fantasized about moving to Montreal as a teen. Arcadian. My partner is Arcadian French from Nova Scotia. The cultural difference between them and Quebecois is crazy. I'm Arcadian from Moncton. Both Arcadie and Quebec were 2 separate French colonies with almost no contact for hundreds of years. Most people don't understand how different the culture is. Snow. Lots of snow. If it's not cold, it's hot in Canada, or at least where I live. Mounted police. I know a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, and he said none of them ride horses, and 90% of them are never trained to ride horses, let alone do police work on a horse. I've seen a lot of police in Toronto riding huge police horses, but no Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Nice people. My SO, said Trudeau, and then smirked. For me, maple syrup. I didn't know what poutine was till I came here, and it's the best thing I've ever had, after Indian street food. We're here now, but we're not from here or from the same place, if you know what I mean. Smirked in a true daddy kind of way. That hair and that goatee. This is weird, but honestly, Degrassi Next Generation comes to mind. Drake being on that show playing Jimmy cracks me up. Plus Spinner is my fave character for sure. Loved that guy. The Tragically Hip. Watched the long-time running Netflix doco last night and highly recommended it. Ain't nothing more Canadian than that. Canadian here. The most Canadian moment I've experienced is probably the night of the Hips' last concert, when it was broadcast live all across the country. Entire communities came out and watched together in parks, etc. on big screens. It felt like every single Canadian had come together in that moment, and the sense of national unity that night is something I'll never forget. Beavers! All dressed ruffle chips. Tim Hortons, and most importantly, poutine! It's funny because most Canadians I know hate Timmy Hoes. My girlfriend's small Canadian cottage town has been pushing against one being built for years. Tim Hortons is a shell of what it once was, and that's a fact. Where I want to live for the rest of my life. Poutine, maple syrup, coffee crisp, Aero bars. All the other chocolate you can't get in America. Seriously, the cashiers must think I'm a weirdo when I buy so much of it. Oh Canada, CN Tower, Stanley Park. How much I want to visit again after all this coronavirus stuff is over and they'll reopen travel from the US to Canada. I once saw something on Reddit, not sure if it was a post or a comment, but it was someone describing how a Canadian will reach past someone at a grocery store to grab something, and they'll pretty much always say this when they do. Just gonna sneak right past you there. This may not be exactly right, but it's still what I think about every time Canadians are mentioned in any medium. A backpack with a Canadian flag on it, maybe with some fluorescent lights pointing at it, and a sign that reads, "I'm not American!" Also, polite and friendly people, and a gorgeous landscape. Free healthcare. It isn't completely free, it comes off my paycheck, and I barely notice it. I'm grateful for our single-payer system, but I think it could definitely be improved. Dental and optical should definitely be included, and mental health should be better. I don't know why, but I start imagining two people standing at the door telling each other, "It's okay, you go in first." Big red leaf. La Ronde and l'Aquapark. Because I went there in the 80s. Also, they had vinegar packets in McDonald's for the fries. Canadian here. There's vinegar packs in most places for fries. Is that not a thing elsewhere? The word sorry. This is actually very true, and I'm surprised I had to scroll this far to see it. I've bumped into a wall or inanimate object before and apologised, which I'm pretty sure all Canadians have done at least a couple of times in their life. This one post I saw on Tumblr that went something like this. Do Canadians even have a president, or is it just the moose with the biggest horns? The Netherlands' weird but wholesome relation with Canada comes to mind. Canada and the other Allied forces liberated the Netherlands, and the Netherlands was like, "Thank you, Canada, and no one else for liberating us." And to this day, we send Canada millions of tulips as thanks. I think part of that had to do with providing refuge to the Dutch royal family during the war, and temporarily declaring the hospital ward Dutch territory, so that Princess Margaret could be born on Dutch soil. The Royal Canadian Kilted Yaxman anthem from Ren and Stimpy, of course. Syrup! Now you're speaking my language.